Billy's prediction tonight. Score.
Score? I don't know. I'm focused on something.
Is there any chance that we see the Stars into the third quarter tonight?
Possible. We'll feel the game out. You know, they're gonna start. You know, we'll get them some first half minutes, and then we'll beat the game at halftime.
Same look with Josh again, with those three and Nurk.
Nurk's not gonna play tonight. I'm holding Nurk out, and Eric Gordon and Yuta. So the three guys that will get the night off.
That's just how you guys scheduled it?
Yeah, just try to get each guy, you know, for the most part, get each guy that needs a night off, and those guys will get it tonight. And I'm actually going to look at Grayson Allen in the starting lineup. So it'll be Book, Brad, KD, Grayson, and Drew Eubanks.
We were talking to Yuta the other day, and he was saying, you know, he feels like he's a good help defender, but he knows he needs to improve as an on-ball defender. Just how would you assess what you've seen from him?
I would assess it as he gets the most out of his ability, honestly. You know, he is a great attention to detail and focus, and is always in the right spot, and gives great effort. And that's really all you can ask of all of your guys. You know, he's a bigger guy, you know, so you know, he's not going to be an elite defender on ball, but he really competes, and he executes the system and the scheme as well as anybody on our team.
Coach, when you got the job, what was the way you tried to connect with Kevin? Did you go see him? Did you call him?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with him in LA. You know, worked out nicely for us that we both spent a lot of time in LA naturally. Spent a lot of time. Obviously, we connected on the phone first when I got the job, and you know, had some conversations about you know, my team's in LA, and you know, some parallels to this team, and you know, some of what my approach is going to look like, and in some ways I felt like we you know, positions we'll put him in, you know, to have success, and then you know, once we got into the summer, spent a lot of time up at his gym in LA. You know, it was a big part of my summer routine. Honestly, yeah.
You've obviously coached some legends, but when you see him play offensively, just how do you describe how special he is?
As good as any of them. You know, I think the work ethic is something I had not seen close up. How hard he goes in his individual workouts, and you know, that the more you learn about him, you know, you learn that this is just the way he's been. You know, and there's a lot of guys with talent in this league. You know, in the game in general. You know, but not all of them become great players and elite players like KD. And you know, I think he's a perfect exhibition of a really talented guy. You know, that is, you know, the hardest working guy around. You know, you put it all together and you see what he got.
I'm sure you've been asked this question before, but what has his approach to leadership been like since camp has started?
Yeah, he's definitely more of a lead by example guy. But he represents the right things, and you know, he'll communicate things that can, you know, are out of place, or you know, can we do certain things that may be better for our group. He's seen you know, he's seen it all. You know, whether talk about double teams and how people are going to try to slow him down, but defensive systems and you know, just your overall culture of the way we do things day to day. You know, so he's been a great leader from that standpoint.
Coach, in preseason, you've been able to evaluate different guys with the big three, obviously Josh, Eric Gordon, Grayson tonight. When you're looking at that, what are you kind of evaluating in terms of their fit with those two?
Just see what it looks like. You know, not everything's analytics. You know, just a feel. You know, I see what those guys look like together, what type of events transpire, you know, that happen naturally just by putting groups together.
With Grayson in Milwaukee last year, something the coaching staff asked him to do is take on more of those primary assignments. Just how do you see him in that kind of role where he can potentially be guarding guys like Steph, Murray, Kyrie, Fox, like the best of the best at the guard position?
Yeah, he's got that assignment, you know, throughout his career. That's something we love about him. I love his offensive game, you know, as much as anything. But he's scrappy. He's a competitor. He has had a lot of experience in those, you know, those types of matchups against big-time offensive players, and you know, he fits the bill. I think Jo has more of a body type to, you know, to be more versatile in terms of guarding threes and fours when needed, as well as, you know, being able to be the point of attack defender. You know, but Grayson competes with the best of them, you know, guys like that.
How important is physicality with that job specifically for you?
important. You know, we'll be physical in everything we do, but Grayson's one of the most physical guys on our team. You know, he embraces contact, he loves getting in the scrum, and he's a fighter. So I love his game.
In the same vein, how did you connect with Bradley? And as a coach, what kind of mentality do you have to have with him when he's been the man, and now he's, you know, has to fit in?
Yeah, it's a feel thing. You know, the connection with Bradley began really when we met with him. You know, we met with him and his wife and had a long talk about coming to play for the Suns. And you know, there's you know, it was more than just, you know, the Phoenix Suns, the team, and Bradley Beal, the player. You know, there was an intent to connect with him on a personal level, get to know his family, or understand what his family is about. And you know, a lot of those conversations, you know, he and I stayed at the same hotel when I was transitioning and he was transitioning. So, you know, a lot of hotel conversations as well. You know, but just trying to spend as much time. He also spent some time in LA, so I connected with him there. I think the voluntary camp that the guys, you know, put together in LA was also another time for KD and for Brad, you know, to connect with those guys and spend time with those guys away from the basketball court.
Can you talk about your defensive schemes, how well it's worked in the past, where that foundation comes from, and how it's changed with this team and how they're able to adapt because of their talent?
Yeah, it can be a long answer, you know, in terms of how the scheme developed. You know, I think you know, one of the bigger things was how to succeed with a young Roy Hibbert. You know, how we develop some of our uses of big men in this league. You know, he was at the time, you know, really struggling to stay out of foul trouble. You know, so, you know, I took some lessons from, you know, just always studying the game, always listening, you know, to what's going on around the league. And, you know, I remember some lessons Jeff Van Gundy would talk about when he had Dikembe and Yao and how he used those guys. And we implemented some of those schemes with Roy. The defense I ran in LA was very different than the defense I ran in Indiana. Much more switching flexible, you know, to evolve with the modern NBA. And we really broke the mold and recreated it, you know, and built a team that built a defense that I felt is perfect for the modern NBA. And we're bringing that here. And it's, you know, some of the stuff is different than, you know, our guys have done the last few years, you know, because the league, you know, universally has gone to really, really heavy switching. And, you know, our guys are used to some of that, and we're pulling back on some of that because I think there's value. I think you can, you know, win an extra 8 to 10 possessions by dictating matchups and, you know, only switching when it's smart to do so. So, you know, there's been a lot of thought put into that, a lot of study, a lot of, quite honestly, flexibility on my part to change the things that I really like to do. But there's always, if there's a better way, you know, as a coach, you gotta adapt. And we once said, adapt or die, right? So there's been a lot of adaptation to my defensive system, you know, through the last 10, 12 years. I think it helped us in LA, and I think it's really gonna help this group.
You've had to adapt, obviously not having DeAndre here, you know, since the trade, but how do you feel like you've had to adapt with some of the other bigs like Udoka or, you know, Bull or Drew or even Yusuf?
Yeah, well, everybody has different skill sets, you know. So I think there are similarities with, you know, guys like Dirk and DeAndre, as well as Doak, you know, where Bull and Eubanks have a different type of skill set in terms of their mobility, their athleticism, speed. They can do a few different things, you know, so you build that into your system. And you know that those guys can, you know, have that type of flexibility. But the other guy's strength is their size and strength. You know what I mean? So you try to tailor it all to your player's strengths, you know, no matter what side of the ball you're talking to, and it's no different here.
Coach, you have a very experienced coaching staff. For people who may not know, how important is it to have a coaching staff that you can depend on?
Yeah, it's you know, Red Auerbach would say that it's not important at all. This is one coach, and that's all he did. He said it was me, and I take the ankles and I swept the floors. So was not important at all. According to the legendary coach Brad Arbach. I was fortunate enough to have an office right next to in my first NBA job with the Boston Celtics, which was pretty cool. But nowadays, you know, the level of detail, you know, in today's game, you know, having a veteran staff, you know, that can really strengthen your message, give you, you know, different ideas, really dive into the opponents that we're trying to, you know, trying to scout and break down, and then, you know, the ability to really work with our players, you know, to find the roles, help them feel good about them, and make sure all of our systems are operating at the highest level. You know, that's what the assistant coaches do. You know, they support me and help build all those things.
Coach, when it comes to that fifth starter spot, is that something you want to have figured out by the time the regular season comes around?
Yeah, we'll have it figured out, and you know, we won't let anybody know before the regular season. But I do think that it's not something that's going to be static. You know, I think it's something, like I said, even if we feel good about who that person is, we may still go stretches of our season having someone else in there just to see what type of dynamic that gives us. You know, so you know, there is an element of trial and error throughout the course of an 82-game season, and that'll be part of it.
Frank, the fact that you only have Booker here from the long term, and Durant, I think, played 8 regular season games in the playoffs, all the stuff you're talking about implementing makes it a lot easier with almost a completely new group of guys. You don't have to come in with 5 or 6 or 7 guys, or you're going to have to turn around.
True. There's less reliance on what was done last year
Right.
from that standpoint, but I still view it as you know, a continuity disadvantage compared to most of the league. You know, there's it has a core of players returning in a system where a coach has been there. You know, so there's positives and negatives to that. I think the you know, the freshness of being new to it, you know, is something that we'll benefit from. You know, but you know, the way we're using our guys throughout the preseason, we're probably playing them a little more than we would if not more like minutes wise, but more games than if this group had been together for 3 or 4 years. So.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.